Okay, I have started the recording, and once again, I am Nancy Watkins, the director for the doctorate program at Cal State Fullerton. And this is our third block of the research symposium. And it's one of, the most engaging part to talk with students. Although I say that after we've had an amazing speaker in Dr. Lozano to kick off the evening about improvement science, and the esteemed community college panel that really illustrated some of the challenges in community college and the trends for the future. So to be able to conclude with students is a wonderful full circle for us. The students that you will meet this evening recently completed their doctorate degrees in the Cal State Fullerton EDD program. They are in the field and their research is inspiring and interesting, and I cannot wait for you to meet everyone tonight. So I would like to start off just by asking the panelists to introduce yourself, give us a little bit of your background, your program affiliation, as well as your current professional affiliation, and anything else that you may want to share. And Dr. Martinez, I'd love to start with you.
Hello, everybody. It's brings me a lot of joy to be here today and be part of this panel. Thank you so much for the invitation. I am part of the P12 EDD program. I believe we were either cohort 12 or 13. And I am now currently working with a public school district in Southern California. And the EDD process has opened up a lot of opportunities for me. And one of those has been this new role as a teacher on special assignment supporting our dual immersion programs and literacy in our district. Now I'll hand it over to Susanna.
Hello. Thank you for asking me to be here tonight. It's an honor. My name is Susanna Bortz, and I'm like Lynette. I believe we were cohort 13 in the P12 program. I currently work at Journey Charter School. I'm a reading interventionist, and I also own a tutoring company for people that have dyslexia. And one thing that's been helpful with the EDD is Dr. Barrios has encouraged me to apply to speak at conferences, and I've been accepted at two of them. So that's been fun. A little scary, but fun.
Thank you, Dr. Bortz. Dr. Harris, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm from cohort 11 of the Educational Leadership Higher Learning Program, currently teaching research methods and psychometrics at USC in their Rossier School of Education, as well as the Chicago School of Clinical and Professional Psychology. I'm involved in a few research teams and really strengthening the focus group side, and I love the literature review side of it. And I'm also have an internship program where I teach future researchers at the undergraduate level at Northridge, Cal State Northridge, how to conduct research and how to leverage research, right? So yeah, that's about me.
Now, I just heard you say that you love literature reviews, so I'm sure several of our students on the call will want to pick your brain on that. But thank you, Dr. Harris. Dr.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lori Pullman. I am faculty member, full-time faculty member at Orange Coast College. And my new role, I guess, there would be the curriculum chair of the college. So the EDD definitely shifted me into a definite leadership position in that way. And I really appreciate being here. It's amazing speakers that I just heard. So I hope I can do them justice.
Thank you. And Lori, I'd love to just start with you. Tell us a little bit about your research project, and in addition, that decision that you made to tackle your topic.
Boy, that's interesting. a lot of people ask me why I wanted to even do an EDD. And usually as we go up in the scale, our pyramid, from broad goes really narrow. And my background is quite diverse, and I needed to actually go from narrow to broad. And the EDD actually allowed me to do that. And your program was the only one who would allow me to do what I wanted to do, which is I am a licensed landscape architect and a designer and creative director and all sorts of fun things in the world of horticulture. So I wanted to study how the landscape affects community college students. So the title of my lovely little dissertation is Landscape Wellbeing and Connection, a qualitative study of community college students' perception of the campus landscape attributes. So I got into it because of my background, and I said, what can I do? And I was just so fortunate to find this program to be able to dig down deep and find out what happens. So thank you.
And we'll come back, and we'll want to hear some of your findings. We'll come back. Dr. Harris, will you tell us a little bit about your research and your decision to tackle that topic?
Awesome. Yes. So I have a little bit in common with Lori as it relates to having your background lead you into wanting to explore more details and really dive into it. And definitely the EDD program provided me that space to just cannonball into a topic of such as in race. So I also teach in the African American Studies department here at Cal State Fullerton. I teach the history of racism class, and taught race and ethnic studies elsewhere. And my research was on representation as motivation, perspectives of first generation African American male college students with professors of shared identity. And so I wanted to substantiate the statement, you can't be what you can't see. And in my experience, I just didn't have a lot of professors who looked like me. And so I really wanted to understand and explore the experiences of Black male students who are in these traditional spaces, and what are their struggles, and what comes of that. And I know we're going to talk about results later on, but again, that's just what led me to my research and going in undergrad and higher learning. I really didn't see myself as the classroom leader, and I wanted to see what inspires that. So yeah, that was my research, and it was put me in a good position to do what I'm doing now, because I know everyone's here because they want to leverage all this hard work they're about to do. I mean, fun work.
That's right. Thank you, Dr. Harris. And Dr. Curry mentioned that you are a new father, so we'd like to say congratulations to you.
Many thanks. Thank you.
Dr. Bortz.
I want to give you a little soapbox warning. This is about why I chose this project. You'll see it's near and dear to my heart. My research project addressed struggling readers, particularly students with dyslexia. And in my project, I interviewed 13 teacher education professors who taught classes leading to a general or special education credential, or graduate classes leading to a master's in literacy. And the professors were from 6 campuses in a statewide university system. And the reason I tackled this project was because in 2013, one of my reading students zoomed ahead of all the other kids in his group. And his mom explained he'd begun tutoring for dyslexia. Dyslexia. I had a multiple subject and special education credential, a master's in elementary curriculum, and over 30 years of professional development, and no one had mentioned dyslexia. So on my own, I learned that 15% of students have dyslexia, and the structured reading that they need benefits all students, but it's essential for struggling readers, English language learners, and beginning readers. But this structured approach, or dyslexia, isn't usually mentioned in teacher education. And 34% of our seniors today graduate and they cannot read. And their ranks have grown every year since 1992. And lack of reading skills in adults has been linked to increased dropout rates, underemployment, depression, incarceration, and suicide. Struggling readers can learn to read, but they need explicit systematic instruction, and the struggling students with the best chance of success go to private schools or expensive tutoring programs. It's like in the public schools, we give left-handed students right-handed scissors and label them disabled when they can't cut. And I wanted to find out why my teacher education had ignored those students. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Susanna. Dr. Martinez.
So similar to the other panelists, it was really my experience that led me to my research topic, which was how to support teachers with designing multilingual assessments. So I've had the opportunity to work with multilingual students, and I really think it was my time spent with them that influenced my decision to take on this topic. So I use the term multilingual students to refer to a wide variety of students that have had experiences in more than one language. So it might be what we refer to as like designated English learners, or newcomers, students that are learning a second language. That those are some terms that you might be familiar with. But I experienced a challenge as a dual immersion teacher with assessing these students in my classroom. I wanted to find ways that really valued and sustained their linguistic backgrounds and experiences. And I felt that a lot of the assessments we were carrying out in our classroom asked them to leave a part of their identity outside. So we were only assessing them in Spanish at certain points of the day, or at other points of the day in English. So it became a challenge to figure out, how do we assess our students in more equitable ways? And I used improvement science methodology to address this problem in my local context within my school site, and a team of 6 dual immersion teachers that were teaching in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And working with them was really a great opportunity for us to collaborate, have common goals, and improve our assessment practices, as well as our collaboration.
Thank you. I know that I sent the questions to the panelists ahead of time for them to review, but I mentioned that I reserved the right to make changes. And since this forum is specifically to help some of our current EDD students think about research and understand your experiences and your process, before we talk about some of the outcomes from your research projects, I'd love to just talk for a moment about the process. What were some of those challenges? This is a 9-term program, 3 years for an EDD. What were some of those challenges as you began your research, and how did you overcome those challenges? And I'm not going to call on anyone. You can just jump in if you would like to tackle that.
I'll take that one. Because I was cohort 12, we were in the COVID world. And so that became challenging to be on a campus, which was my study, was to be on campuses and to talk to students. And community colleges were very protective of their students at this point in time who would be on the campus. All sorts of things started to erupt during this time frame. So I approached 23 campuses. I ended up with 6. And that was fabulous. Thank goodness for 6 campuses and 23 participants. So I think the point I would probably want to make to all of the students is you've got to work hard to get in there and keep banging at their door and go after. If you need that quantity, you have to start early and you have to just keep going after it. It's there. But COVID wasn't helpful. We'll just say that. COVID just wasn't helpful. But the students that I did have were fantastic. So I was very, very lucky to have those 23 students to do my research.
I would echo that about beginning early, and that once I had participants, I was so impressed with the professors. They wanted to help, but the most difficult part was lining them up. So lots of emails and lots of reminders to sign the waivers. And also the defense was in October. So then by the time everything went through all the process, it was getting near the holiday season when I was trying to interview people. So I agree that it's important to go early, but I was pleasantly surprised, maybe because I was interviewing university professors and I don't know if they felt sorry for me or they were aware of this process, but they were very, very helpful. The ones that I interviewed couldn't have been nicer. And I found myself, even when I disagreed with what they were saying, I really appreciated their taking their time and wanting to work with me.
Can definitely echo that. I can identify a trend right now with my research brain and me saying that time is definitely a factor when it comes to this process. I'll speak to that. Creating a realistic timeline rather than an ambitious timeline. Everyone wants to graduate. Everyone wants to get back to their life and get this stuff done. But I was met with the reality of setting an ambitious timeline. Some of the great professors on the call helped me out with that. Dr. Dean Joe Curry, for example, really gave me a dose of reality to push me over the fences, that she would call it, to get things going. Dr. Beckham as well, on our Saturday classes. And so making that realistic timeline is key. So once you set that timeline, give yourself an extra month to actually getting that done. So what you see in writing, just want to make sure you try to tackle it a month earlier, only because life happens and life is gonna life, whether we are ready for it or not. And so you'll be just that much more in a comfortable space to address and put out any fires or make any pivots that you need to make because of the realities of emergencies in your lives and even in the others partners that you're working with, because they still have a life, right? So.
And along the same lines of having timelines, I think one of the big takeaways for me through this whole process was that adaptive solutions to the complex problems that we address in this EDD process and in all of our work in education do require, I think, a careful balance of planning, explicit, careful, thoughtful planning, and flexibility. I had in mind also a timeline of, how my project would roll out. But as we have experienced, through COVID and other situations, sometimes those things didn't always fit into that timeline. So it's definitely important to kind of go into it with the mentality that it'll require flexibility and that the challenges will actually be opportunities for learning. I definitely experienced that in the work that I did with the teacher teams and participants in my study.
Thank you all. And I know we'll come back to some other practical advice for EDD students, but I really think the exciting part of research is when you get to outcomes and implications. So this is kind of a multi-layered, and feel free to take any aspect of this question that you might like. The questions as we presented them were, how might your work and research lead to improvement in your context, in your field, or for students? What are you seeing in your field? And I think I would add to that, how are you sharing your research with others, your outcomes.
I can jump right on in. So what I'm currently seeing in my field is a shift. So my chapter 5 informed leadership to consider putting funding internship programs or match programs with professors and potential employees of color, so that we can strengthen our on ramp from college to career for those individuals who aspire to be working in education, so that there is a support group and someone can show these individuals the ropes and how to climb them. And so I'm also adding to that mission, and with the internship programs that I'm involved with, teaching future teachers and to future teachers of color or non-traditional, as we put in a lot of our research, teachers or educators. So I am starting to see that movement, or that traction, if you will. And one of the ways that I'm sharing this research with my colleagues and others, I put it everywhere. It's in my signature. It's in my if I have friends that have similar topics or similar interests when it comes to using critical race theory, validation theory, gender theory, my theoretical framework, I just make sure I share that out, because the work that I can share with them, if they can find value in it. If not, just scroll down to the reference page and you can just go shopping, if you will. I don't know if you already picked up that tip or trick. When you find a research that connects to yours, a lot of what you are going to be using for your lit review could be right there in their reference page. And so, yeah, just always sharing that out and not waiting for leadership or someone that has a higher pay grade than you to do something about your work. You have the power to solve your unmet need right now at your capacity, at your arm's reach. Bring your research to life, and that's just something that I've been doing, because it oftentimes motivates those individuals, those department chairs, those directors that can speak your name in the rooms that you're not in.
I agree with that it's part of our responsibility to speak up. One of the areas that I hope that would improve would be awareness of dyslexia. So just like what Dr. Harris said, that was part of my plan why I gave that spiel in the beginning, because all of us are in education, and I want you to know about children that struggle to read that aren't being helped. And so I try to use every opportunity I can to bring it up and present information. And my sons told me, not everyone's as interested in this as you, Mom, but I still bring it up anyway. And because one of the things I found out one of my outcomes, why I think awareness is important, is particularly self-awareness, is that almost every single ed professor I interviewed loved reading. None of them recalled struggling in school. And that's who are training our teachers. And many of them didn't seem aware at all that reading, which was their magic wand, could be like an anchor for a kid who needs really structured reading. And so those professors that are unaware or dismissive of people with dyslexia create teachers that are also not aware of students with dyslexia. So I think that self-awareness is the vital first step that we need, that's needed. So, and I think I agree with Dr. Harris, it's our responsibility to put that out there so that other people can become aware of that.
Letting Lynette have a chance to jump in. It's interesting. I think my work is, I think on a personal level, it's very direct. but at an institutional level, it's very indirect, which sounds a little vague, I know. But what I'm having or asking of a campus is to look at their physical space and create a space that would generate a place of restoration and recuperation for students. So this is a kind of a little different. It's a different world to ask of facilities. I'm going into an operational area and saying, your people, your maintenance, your groundskeepers have just as much influence on students as an instructor does. And they may or may not realize that. And they're like, what are you saying, Lori? And I'm like, students 100% understand if a campus is being taken care of. And what they're telling me in the research is if the campus is not being taken care of, that campus does not take care of me. So if you take care of the campus, obviously you're going to take care of the students. So this is the biggest finding that I found in my research, is that this is kind of a subconscious psychological area to work with students, because they do need quiet place, and it's not another classroom. They need to be outside. They want listening to water. They want to watch the squirrels chitter at each other. They want to see a bird, a butterfly, whatever is showing up on your campus, a koi pond. They need that. They want it. They need it. And it's the only way many students get through school. It's the only way they survive. So this research is odd in the sense of trying to bring that forward. I've been very lucky. Facilities likes to listen to me babble about this. So yay for me on that. But my cohorts, I have an incredible colleague that speaks. He's in a lecture series, basically. And he always brings up my research. And I have just had today, as a matter of fact, a gentleman from Hawaii, from Oahu, the community college in Oahu, wants my dissertation so that he can take the findings to his facilities, to his campus, to say, we need to protect this part of the campus so that students have an area to go and recoup and regroup and calm down and take that stress out of their daily life. So as Dr. Harris was saying, as you know, Dr. Bortz, you're talking about it, may not be always in someone's face, but it's kind of on that side thing. Well, I would have to tell you, this is going on, and it seems to be working. So it's mentioning, and I love that statement, Dr. Harris, when you said, when you're not in the room, somebody else has your voice. And that's how I felt with a colleague of mine, is that he was putting my voice out there. I wasn't there. He had 300 people in this lecture, and 300 people got to hear it. So, you know, that's what you want to be doing. You want to make sure you're out there. You want to make sure your friends, everybody. It's like you're the go-to. And I too have to double up on that bibliography. It's just research. It goes on and on. But if that's your world, that would be, you know, start there. Start in somebody's bibliography, and you'll be great. So anyway, thank you.
So in my work, I address the issue of inequity with monolingual assessments for learning in the classroom, especially in dual immersion programs. And I think that one of the challenges for me has been that I didn't really know how to address this inequity. I've seen it exist for so long. I've experimented in my classroom, but I didn't know how to take that into, for example, a team of teachers. I hadn't really understood what that looked like until engaging with the PLC and the teachers that participated in my research. And so that I think collaboration challenged me to think about this work as not being just a matter of changing the assessment, and that changing the assessment would be what is, going to lead to more equitable practices, but that it really came down to looking at how teachers collaborate, how teachers learn about assessments, and what those processes look like. Improvement science was a great tool because it became very, I guess, I then had the tools, I should say, through improvement science to use things like plan, do, study, act cycles to try out shifting little things in the processes that we did in our classrooms. And it also encouraged me to think differently about how teachers learn, that it wasn't just I needed to tell them about this new assessment process or this new assessment idea, but that we needed to engage in that work together. And together we would be able to evaluate our assessments, talk about, exchange ideas, take risks, and try new things so that we could improve those assessment practices. And that, for me, a big takeaway as well was that learning wasn't just isolated to learning more about the assessment, but also how we created community, for example, within our PLC, and how teachers were building their own identity as teachers in the PLC and beyond that as well. So I'm still learning how to communicate these topics, and I'm excited to be part of this panel where I get to practice that and now get to support more teacher teams in my new role with my district. So I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing to explore that.
And just to clarify, Lynette, your research, your dissertation in practice, that you presented it to your district, and from that ended up in a new leadership role. Is that correct?
Yeah, so part of what I shared with our district was that work that we had been doing in our PLC at one dual immersion site. So in our district, we have 6 sites with a dual immersion program, and I was working with one site. Moving into this year, we're now going to have collaboration across dual immersion sites, where we'll get to hopefully talk about the experiences with our PLCs and continue to grow that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, and in some ways, I think the panel has covered this a little bit, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. If someone was really interested in your topic, in addition to your dissertation, which should be on our repository, I believe the Cal State Fullerton repository should have your dissertation published. What's the best resource for people to dive deeper into your topic? So outside of your research or broader, who in your field should we read?
So I can jump in. If you are interested in any topics related to culture, cultural competency, race or ethnicity, validation theory, and just, strengthening sense of belonging, you definitely want to start at the leading individuals in that area. So one of those individuals I like to dive into a rabbit hole in their work is Sean Harper over at USC. Definitely, I got a chance to meet him in person at the fall orientation, and to been a fan of that individual's work, individuals like that who keep adding to the conversation. The information is at our fingertips now, literally. So you can just do a start with a Google search of top 10 leading industry professionals and insert your potential topic here, and then see what comes up. I know that the whole Google thing it's like saying Voldemort in academic settings. Oh no, Google, that's not academic. No, do that first, because if you start somewhere, that can possibly take you into those atmosphere where there are actual alumni groups or groups that are dedicated on Facebook towards your topic. And so now you're in an environment with 40, 50, 60 individuals just sharing a bunch of information. You just hit the jackpot, right? So don't shy away from either Google or Facebook groups relative to your topic. GroupMe, Clubhouse meetings. These are all apps that I'm in a group that's on GroupMe that's just dedicated to professionals in my topic. So I'm always stimulated with new information that goes beyond my research, because I don't want my research to clip my wings without me knowing, because there's people that are doing work in my topic as we speak. And so I would definitely just recommend that you start with the top 10 leading professionals in this, and try to identify their unmet needs. What are they not talking about? Scroll down to their chapter 5 in their work where they're talking about informing leadership or informing policy, because that's where they're going to put all the stuff that they didn't get a chance to talk about in their research because they ran out of time and money. That's all.
I have to agree with Dr. Harris. Google's great. You know, all of this, YouTube, LinkedIn. When you're at a conference, track down the person you're listening to. I tracked down a woman in Poland, and she was doing very similar research to mine. And she just put out her book isn't coming out quite yet, but she's put out a book. And we were sharing all sorts of things. So don't be, reaching out isn't a bad thing. Reach out, ask that person, where did you just what are you doing? How are you doing? And as Dr. Harris was saying, you don't want your research to kind of get you into this narrow focus. You want to keep this wide band going so that you can collect more and more information, because the world is doing this. It's everywhere. And you have to, you just got to reach out. And the internet, best thing at this point. You have to use it right and not go down too many rabbit holes, but that can be fun. Rabbit holes can be fun. But I had much luck on just reaching out to people that I met at conferences and said, or just heard them or lectured to them and said, well, track them down. LinkedIn, Google, you can track just about anybody down, and sent them a quick little message, tried not to get into their space. When our wonderful dissertation committee people, they know people. If they say, hey, look up this author or this person because they were my mentor, please do that. They're giving you a really good suggestion. Okay. So I had a suggestion from one of our faculty members that was her mentor. One of her many mentors was Dr. Banning, and tracked him down at the Colorado State. And he's leading guy in this. And he was so giving of information, and look at this, watch your research in there, make sure you know what you're doing here, do this. 2 emails, it was a semester worth of information. So, when someone gives you a suggestion, track it down, see what you can get from it, and run with it. You'll be surprised what you find. So you just become this research hound. That's what you become. You're just constantly looking for things and hunting.
I agree with that, of tracking down people. I've emailed a few people that are kind of famous in our field, and they've always emailed back. And like you said, they'll refer me to someone else. I have this friend that's doing research. Maybe you'd like to contact her. And so then I can contact her because I have the reference. And I've been pleasantly surprised at how willing people are to speak about the topic. And also I like the Facebook group. I belong to a reading teacher group on Facebook. It's called What I Should Have Learned in College. And it's great because it's kind of like being in the teacher's room when you're sitting around, just talking to people and everyone gets to comment. And I also wanted to tell Dr. Harris, It's very interesting listening to when you talk about your topic, it relates to reading so much in a different context, because one of the things that I found is that students who have teachers who have struggled with them, like them, feel much more accepted and they feel like they can succeed. And it's similar, you're talking about that same concept in a different way, how students need teachers that they can relate to. And so it's very interesting listening to you. And the other thing I wanted to mention before I tell you the names is that California 2 weeks ago passed AB 488, where every teacher education class in public California colleges need to address dyslexia and structured literacy. So now it's going to be make sure that really happens and how it will be implemented. And if you were looking for information about reading or dyslexia, there's Sally Shaywitz and Louisa Motes. I've emailed both of them and they've contacted me back. And also there's Moody, who investigated Texas prisons and found 80% of the people in prison could not read and 40% of those people had dyslexia. That's a fascinating study. And if you're interested in activism, there's a person called Ben Foss who has a website called the Headstrong Nation. And if you're interested in reading instruction and how to instruct students with dyslexia, there's the Reading League Journal and Susan Barton and Learning Ally. And if anyone's interested in reading, you're always welcome to contact me. As you can see, it's my favorite topic. So I'm happy to share any resources that I have.
Thank you, Susanna. I was also happy that you shared an update on policy. I think the cohort element of the Fullerton program is very special. You get to learn a lot of different topics based on what different interests cohort members have. And I just the other day was thinking about some dyslexia policies that I saw earlier this year that were, being thought of. And I was like, oh, Susanna, I wonder if she has updates. So thank you. If anyone's interested in learning more about multilingual assessments, I recommend Margot Gottlieb. She recently published a text about classroom assessments in multiple languages. She draws on a framework that thinks about assessment as learning, for learning, and of learning. So through this framework, she encourages different ways of thinking about how teachers can assess their multilingual students in their classroom. And one theory that's you might have heard of, or if you haven't, related to language learning is called translanguaging. There is an author named Ofelia Garcia. She writes a lot about this theory that conceptualizes a multilingual learner as a student that has one linguistic repertoire and is developing this linguistic repertoire using like multiple language systems, as opposed to more traditional ideas that might be a learner or a student having two separate language systems in one body. So I encourage you to Google that or Google her if you're interested in learning more.
Thank you to all of our panelists. I do kind of want to do a little speed round here. Many of you spoke already to the need for time management and starting early, I think was heard. But in just a quick blurb, what's a piece of practical advice that you would give to a new doctoral student?
I'll throw this one out really quick. Have a serious conversation with how much time this is going to take with your entire family. I was weirdly, twistedly lucky to get COVID because I didn't have to go to birthday parties. I didn't have to go to Christmas. I didn't have to do everything, and I could stay hyper focused on what I was doing. It's a serious commitment. And if you want to do it well, you definitely have to have that conversation that just maybe you're not doing the laundry or cooking or whatever your part in the family is, or if that is a demand and it needs to be addressed, how do you fit it into that time management? How do you fit all of that into your schedule? And it's a serious conversation. This is not a lightweight program. No matter what anybody thinks, this is not lightweight. This is hardcore. So have that conversation. Okay.
One thing I'd like to share is something Dr. Lozano told me. Before my defense, she suggested that I enjoy presenting as much as possible. And that seemed pretty impossible because I was so nervous. But it helped me reframe from what if I mess up to this is important and I want people to know it. And I think of that now in all of my life. And so I echo her advice to enjoy presenting your corner of expertise to the world.
Oh, I love that. That is one of the things I will tell myself when speaking out is to get out of my head of being nervous. No, people need to hear this stuff because there's obviously an unmet need going on. And if I am going to quiet myself because I'm nervous, I'm being selfish because I'm scared to talk. And so, yeah, just throw it out there and have these conversations. So I definitely like that. And I would add to that by saying, really, if you have to sit with yourself, if you're on the fence about a direction, it's because you haven't connected to your heart yet. Some people are gonna start these programs to get it out of the way, to get the letters. Don't do that, because when the tough gets going, and if you don't have an anchored reason as to why you're doing this work, you're not going to stay as committed as you would like to if you really connected this work to your heart. So really sit with yourself. I don't care if you have to meditate, go to the beach, whatever your self-care place is, but really connect yourself to your topic. And if you can't do that, solve a problem that you are truly passionate about seeing a change in either your work or the work that you want to do. You might not be on the level or in the space or the place that you want to be in. Fine, be an expert in what you want to do in the future. Make the decisions today that's going to make your future self happy. You don't necessarily have to, if you're not a director yet, or you're not some type of big time leadership role, don't feel bad about that. I was an adjunct throughout my whole program, and I still pick up classes here and there, but I did research from a perspective of a leader. I did research that's going to solve the problem that employers are going to use. So commit to a topic that you can see can benefit the need of a program. That's going to serve you, and you'll be able to leverage that in the future in job interviews, so they can see you as an asset that's going to be around for a long time. I hope that helped.
That was excellent. And you guys bring up such important, essential pieces to this process. And I want to also add that leaning into the community is super important. This work cannot be done alone. Lori talked about talking to your family, also, connecting with your friends, your professors in the program, co-workers, students, everyone that you work with. It's really important to consider, your position in the community, and that, there is support. If you ever do feel alone, reach out to one of us. You have our contact info too. I know everyone here would be happy to be there to cheer for you.
Thank you. Wonderful advice. And I started this evening out saying that tonight's 3 blocks were going to inform and inspire. And this has definitely been inspirational for our current students and for, me as faculty. And I think that many of the other faculty would agree. It's wonderful to have students come back and share your passion and your hard work and the impact that your research is having. So if we could just thank you again collectively for spending time with us tonight. You've been an amazing, amazing panel, and I wish that your work continues and you impact the field as you already are. So thank you very much. A little applause right there. And for those of you who have hung out for all 3 hours with us at our research symposium, thank you. It is truly an honor to meet with you and to have everybody here in solidarity. And next year, our research symposium will be back in person. So I hope next year you will join us once again. And I would once again just like to say thank you.